Hi everybody, it's Matt Stevens here for another We Love Cycling video podcast, and I have two guests on this particular episode because it's all about nutrition in cycling. I have Kristof Kegel, the head of performance at Alpecin Deceuninck, and also Matti, one of the team's chefs. So we look at how they basically prepare all of the meals and the nutrition for the riders in the team, in the grand tours, training camps, what it takes to be a chef, and also fundamentally about the relationship between the riders, the chefs, and the performance staff at the team. This is an absolute corker. Enjoy. Here we go. Kristof and Matti, thank you very much, guys, for joining us on the We Love Cycling podcast. You guys, of course, for a while now have worked for Alpecin Deceuninck. But before we kick off our conversation about what it's like being one of the performance directors and a chef on the team, can you just explain your role? So, Matti, if you could go first, you've just explained your role on the team for us.
Well, I'm one of the chefs from the team of Alpecin Deceuninck, also for the women team. So globally, I cook for the riders. So that is my main task. So, voila.
And Kristof, we've met on a number of occasions. I know what you do, but for anybody who may not know you, can you just explain your role on the team?
Yeah, I'm the head of performance of Alpecin Deceuninck. That means that I am in charge a bit of all things that align on the performance to get the riders as good as possible at the start of the races, and that's of course a lot about training, but the last years also a lot about nutrition. And from out of that perspective, we work intensively together with a lot of our chefs in the team to get all these things lined up as good as possible.
So quite clearly, like every member of any team, especially in this modern era, is massively important. But keeping the riders happy with nice food and making sure they're training properly, two big responsibilities, Matti? I mean, it's you must enjoy your job.
Yeah, honestly, it's really my dream job. I always dreamed about to be cook in a cycling team, and now since 3 years I am doing this job, and it's like really a dream come true. It's really lovely to do.
And Kristof, can you just explain how important having a proper structured nutritional strategy is for any elite cycling team now? Obviously you function at the highest level of the sport, but increasingly this is a big focus for everybody. So just explain the significance of having a nutritional strategy now.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. A couple of years ago, we were all focused on training, and a lot of instruments came, power meters and whatever, to structure and measure the training principles way more. And then after we had that all captured quite well, the nutrition came onto the focus the last 5 to 10 years already now. And to say it a bit with a quote, nutrition can make a good athlete great or a great athlete good. Okay. And that's really something to think about. So this is really what goes into the body. And even if you're extremely talented, if you do it with poor foods, to say it that way, then it can make you only an average athlete on the performance. And just average athletes, with all respect, if they do all things right on training, which they do already since decades, if they then do it also very good on the nutrition side, then the training effects, we saw that the last years, are way better. The recovery is way better. It has a lot of performance aspects which are positive. So a lot of benefits on the nutrition side. Then you make big steps forward.
And Matti, I mean, clearly what Kristof was saying, massively important, especially over the last few years. I remember when I was a professional cyclist, we kind of just ate what we wanted, and when we were full, protein, carbohydrate, but now it is a science. But from your perspective, Matti, can you just explain the relationship that you have with Kristof professionally in terms of how you communicate with each other, and what is this on a daily basis? Just explain a little bit about the relationship you have with the performance team, and in particular Kristof.
It's very important, of course, but mainly in training camps and the races, when some things, there are some changes in the menu or stuff, we communicate about it together. But mainly globally seen, we don't hear each other every day because we know our menu to make, and if there's problems, we always can go to performance, of course. But of course, having a good communication also with the other chefs, it's really important, of course.
And Kristof, over the last few years, what do you think have been the most significant changes in our understanding of nutrition? Maybe for the last 5 years, you've been in the sport for a while now, and things have advanced dramatically, haven't they? We know that.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, what have been the most significant changes? And how does that affect your relationship with Matti and the chefs in terms of making sure they're preparing the right food?
Let's maybe first point the relationship with our chefs out then. Actually, it has to be quite clear. The performance we can only make menus in sort of, we have the macronutrients. So we have the carbs, we have the proteins, whatever. This is what we can all work out in Excels and in whatever kind of templates, but those are calculations. Actually, the magics of the chef is to translate our formulas into nice food. And that is a bit the art of the chef, I guess, because in all the performance stuff that we give to the riders, the meal moments are for some riders the only nice 30 minutes of the day.
It's right though. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they have on training, they have to eat performance and training food, bars, gels, whatever. We cannot call that the nicest food, I guess. When they are in racing, they have a lot of stress because of the race. The meal moment, the dinner moment, after the evening moment in a Grand Tour or whatever, that's 30 minutes to 1 hour, which should be no stress. And then you want nice food, healthy food, of course, which we try to calculate. But if then the chef can translate that nice food in some kind of healthy, nice experience, then you are, in my opinion, a very good cycling chef, and that is a bit the art of the chefs. Because if I then go on the things that changed a bit the last years, like for example the carb intake, it went dramatically up. If you have to consume 100 to 150 grams of carbs an hour in a race, it's all massive and it's all very specialized food. If you then come into the bus and there is something just nice on rehydration strategy, like a watermelon or something like that, that's good. If the riders then can choose to something nice with a watermelon and some things that the chefs, some ice fruits or whatever, compared to again a standard recovery thing, then they choose that. So that there is the magic of the chefs, I would say.
Matti, you must be doing a pretty good job. You've been with the team for 3 years, so you must be, you must be a magician. You must be making, because you can't underestimate, can you, the importance of food? Because when I was eating and racing, I had some things in my pocket that I kept to the final 20 Ks for morale as well, for my head. To taste nice, because you like you said, Kristof, you're suffering, and so something special that has been prepared by one of the soigneurs or one of the chefs for us was massively important. But so Matti, how do you do that? That must be one of the biggest challenges for you, is to making sure you're hitting all the points, the right balance of carbs, proteins, minerals, etc., but also in something that's tasty for the riders. That must be the biggest challenge for you. Just talk us through that and how you keep on top of it, so it's not repetitive as well.
No, you have to be like changing the things a little bit up. But I was a cyclist myself for 12 years. In that time everything was so different, like from food and how we were eating before the race, the day after the race, we were eating like no carbs or just normal food. But it changed completely. And how to talk about the tasting food. First of all, cycling and cooking are my two biggest passions, and I can combine it. And I think to have passion for this job, to have the passion, it already makes a lot. Like the riders feel it, the staff around also feel it, and that's the most important thing. And if the passion is there, and also a little bit maybe the talent to cook, you can bring it up to nice food and what the riders like the most. And I still remember my first day at the bureau, and I met Philippe Reuterhoofd. He came to me and he said, in race days or like global days in cycling, the riders after race, the riders only like two things: massage and the food. If one of those is not good, then you're fucked. I'm just saying like that. Sorry for the word, but it is like this. And he said that to me, and I always kept that in mind. So, voila.
And it is. I mean, I guess one of the questions I had. I mean, just to stick on that point with you, Matti, for a second, if you don't mind, is what I'd like to know is when you're on a Grand Tour in particular, and how do you combine what you make for the riders that hits all the points that hits all the requirements of the riders, training load, racing load, of course. Do you use a lot of local produce? Are you limited by that, or do you carry a stock of food around with you, just so I can get a sense of how you actually prepare the menu? Do you know 3 weeks in advance what the whole Tour de France menu is going to be, or do you do it week by week and adapt and use local produce? How do you work around that?
No, we know the menu in advance. So Kristof and the Total Performance teams, they make the menus up. So each day menu is like attached on a rest day, on a sprint stage, on a mountain stage. So it's all different, and we follow that. But of course, sometimes when it's like cold or something in the evening, we make like a soup extra to warm them up, or even giving the soup on the bus to warm the riders up. And we also have like a cooling truck with us always in the big tours, and we try to fill up the cooling truck as much as possible. The dry food, we always take all of it in advance with us. Of course, the fresh food, you cannot take it for 3 or 4 weeks from the beginning, but we try to bring it with us like for the first 1 or 2 weeks. Some parts you can even hold longer, like onions, fruits should stay good for 3-4 weeks. And then, of course, if I'm in the area like Italy, France, and you can buy nice local products, of course we're going to buy them as a chef. And it's always better to have like tomatoes from Italy than tomatoes from Belgium, in my opinion.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, or oranges from Spain. So we try to do it like that a little. But we have a sponsor contract with a local shop in Belgium. Near to us, it's Carrefour. And we buy most things through them. And we try to bring as much as possible to the race. Okay.
And interesting, Matti, you said there, and I'll go back to Kristof now, about having the menu in advance of the Tour de France, and pretty much every day you'll know. So Kristof, will you look at the parkour? Will you look at again, and just look at what you think the training load will be? And also, can you? So that's amazing. So just talk us through planning a 3-week menu. I mean, that's a lot of work, isn't it? And a lot of different layers to it.
Yeah, of course, but we make it way in advance, because as Matti said, the most part of the orders go from Belgium to the Grand Tour with our food truck. That's also to save as much time as possible, because in a Grand Tour we are all on the road. I think Matti knows that, but if he then has to shop 3 hours a day, that's a lot of losing time. So 90% of the things go from Belgium way in advance. A lot of parties involved. So we plan that as soon as the parcours of a Grand Tour is there, we can actually start planning what we think the nutrition requirements and the needs will be what we need. So there is we have estimated TSS or load scores on what we expect. Okay, this stage will be that hard. And we also adapt the menus slightly up to individual plate level based on the goal a certain rider has in a certain stage, because not every rider has to do the final. Sometimes it's possible that one rider does it way more easy at a certain day, while another rider needs to ride the final. Also, an example there is that a climbing stage we go when weight is really important, we go low fiber on the diet. When there are a few flat stages with an easy rolling in start, okay, then we have a bit of fibers into it to keep the gut just okay. So we adapt based on the parcours, based on the goal of the day, up to individual plate level.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I guess, especially a team like yours, when a lot of you don't really have so much the overall objectives, but let's say you're looking after Jasper Philipsen on the flat stages, you're one of the teams that uses two guys to control the peloton, and they're going to be maybe doing 320 normalized all day, and the guys in the bunch 180, for example. So the calorific load for the guys on the front is arguably more than the guys doing the lead out, actually, isn't it? So those guys would need a lot more carbs, I guess.
Yeah. So that's all quite nicely controlled. And as soon as the stage is finished and all goes up to their Training Peaks account, we have the effective. So we have the predicted load weeks, months in advance.
Wow.
We can guess that with, let's say, a score of 96%. You know what is going to happen, unless the peloton decides to do really crazy days sometimes, or a very easy day. Sometimes in a Grand Tour you see extremely easy or extremely hard, but mainly we can calculate that quite accurate. But as soon as they are finished, let's say 15 minutes after the finish of the race, when they come to the bus and all goes to Training Peaks, we have the effective kilojoules that they spent. And then we have a food app which recalculates immediately a bit the predictions, to give us a good idea on, the race is finished. We still have now 6 hours before they go to bed. What do we need to do in those 6 hours to get optimal recovered for the next day or the next stage? And that is, in a Grand Tour it's that way, but also in a training camp where we have a bit of more time, but it's something similar on the principle.
Okay. So to Matti, just in relation to that, do you have any involvement in preparing the post-race meals for the riders? Because of course you prepare the breakfast on the rest day, you'll prepare the lunch as well, obviously on a day's racing they're out on the road eating, but do you have an involvement with the soigneurs in what to prepare for that important post-race meal when the riders get on the bus for the transfer before they then have the meal in the hotel as well?
Me and the other chefs in the team, we always make the post-race as well.
Okay.
So like globally, see in the morning we make the breakfast, the pre-race carbs as well. It can go from rice with an omelette, pancakes, sweet potato waffles. We try to mix it up also, but especially the post-race is very important and it needs to be good as well. The riders have it mostly of the time in the bus or in the car. And then in the evening, we follow it up with a little starter, the main course, and a dessert as well every day. And
briefly, Kristof was saying about the different days, the different load needed for different riders as the tour goes on, and the demands shift and change every day. You've obviously got to make this menu for 3 weeks. How creative do you have to be? Because you've got to look at, I've got to make sure the riders are fueled. I've got to make sure they like the food. I've got to make sure their morale is good, because if you have bad food, the morale's on the floor. As we all know, food is so important. So that must mean that you have obviously it's a very important job, but how do you stay creative? Where do you draw your inspiration from to make different dishes? And are you inspired actually a little bit by the surroundings when you can buy fresh sometimes? Maybe when you look at the map of the tour, maybe we can get some food here, or is it 100% planned from the start and you... I'm just wondering, 3 weeks, like 21 dinners or whatever it is, maybe 25 dinners.
More,
25.
Mostly we go already 3-4 days in front, so
of course,
it's actually Grand Tour is 27 days with the rest days inclusive. I think, I was a chef when I was all my life already, so I think at home I try to do as much as possible as well, like trying new stuff. My girlfriend loves it a lot, so I try everything on her, like new oatmeals, new desserts, new starters, all healthy food, of course. But most of the time, I don't think a lot about it. Mostly, it's like I go sometimes watching my fridge for like making a new starter or something, and then I see what I can make. Of course, it needs to be low in carbs, low in fibers, but most of the time, that's no problem. But variety is very important. The riders love it well. Like every day I try to mix up the eggs, mix up the oats. Sometimes it's chocolate oats, sometimes it's how you say it, lemon and lime oats, like fresh oats. When it's a hot day, they prefer more cold oats, stuff like that. The fruit salad, I try to mix it up. Sometimes I make smoothies instead of fruit salad. So variety is very important for the riders. Of course, they tell it a lot to me as well. Like, and most of the time they really like it. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, this isn't a two-way. This isn't a one-way street in terms of there's a triangle, isn't there? There's the chef, there's the performance staff, and there's the riders. So, Kristof, just explain the riders part of that. Do you sit down and talk to the riders about what they like? Is it just like is the relationship and the dynamic within the team easy? They'll just give you just general feedback because they are obviously an important part of this. It must be working for them.
Yeah, of course. When the menu is set and when you are in a Grand Tour, of course, there are so many parties involved, then it is what it is. It's the machine is too big to shift very brutal from day to day. But of course, we take from altitude camp to altitude camp, we take their feedback on the menus with. We also try to see a bit, okay, how do they mentally react on certain foods and whatever. And that combination of feedback and the general atmosphere, we always take into account because, healthy food and variance and making it very nice, it is challenging to make it 30 days long nice. We are aware of that. It's sometimes way easier to say, okay, keep it very, very simple. We do everyday spaghetti and it's done. But okay. That's just not possible for the guys.
No.
So sometimes we have to come a bit out of the comfort zone. It's actually a constant balance between the numbers which we really want and the mental front of the rider to make it a bit of a nice experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. And when I was with the team a few weeks ago during the Zwift Academy, I was interested to see how much you use the app. You talked about the app earlier on, Kristof, but Matti, can you tell me a little bit about the app that you use? Because it's an amazing bit of technology, isn't it? Can you it's a food maker app? It's called, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah. It's a professional food maker app.
Yeah. Can you just explain how the riders use that and how that works within the team and how your involvement in, and also afterwards, Kristof, your involvement, because I was looking at this bit of technology. I thought, wow, this is next level stuff. So Matti, just explain how the Food Maker app works within the team from your perspective first.
Of course, Kristof knows more about the app than me. I also have it on my cell phone, so I can, mostly of the time, I fill my own account in, so I can also see what my intake would be. But the riders, they need to give in the app from morning to evening everything what they eat and drink. And actually the app calculates then what they still need to eat in the evening or for breakfast. For example, in a race day, in the morning, they have to take a lot of carbs, and then we have in the breakfast, easy, moderate, high, and extreme, and then the riders need to see what they need to eat that day. It's always in the day plan. If they have to eat extreme, then the carbs need to be really high. If they need to eat medium, they're gonna eat less carbs. So, and the app. Kristof will talk more about it, but I how should I say it? I don't use it every day.
Sure.
I just make the food, and they fill in everything what is in the app, and then they fill up their numbers, what they eat, how much carbs they had, how much fat. But everything is standing in the menu. Every dish, everything I make in every different breakfast oat, every pancake is always in the app, so it can calculate every tiny gram, like pharmacia a little.
Yeah.
And Kristof can,
And Kristof, can you just explain more generally the app there? Because I've seen it in use. And also, just talk to me, are the riders good at doing it, or do you have to remind them sometimes?
We have to remind them from time to time.
Sometimes,
but
that's normal.
it's quite normal, of course. It takes, apps are made to make our life simpler, but on the other hand, you have to be very proactive to stay on top with all those things, and that's not different from the food app. But to explain it as simple as I can, actually the app is just based on we call it the 3 T's in the team, and that's total, type, and timing of nutrition.
Okay.
Because we know that the total, the type, the composition, and the timing of your food, that will decide, that can have a big effect and a positive effect, a benefit on your performance. And type we discussed already a bit. It has to be healthy food, good, as natural as possible, good composition, whatever. The totals, the app needs to calculate what are your requirements, how much do you need to fulfill this day based on your training load, which also gets into the app as we discussed. And then the timing, that's maybe the most important thing, and why we also try to make that app. The riders are so busy. They have so much stress when they are in a race day. And we have to make sure that within that window, within the 14 hours that they are awake, we have to try to get all things in. Sure. And we know, scientifically, we know, okay, you can uptake that amount of carbs in that window. Your proteins, you can only have that grams in 1 hour uptake, and the rest, if you take it, just passes by. We know all these general principles, and you just try to build something around that. Based on these principles, there is a maximum uptake of all these different macros on carbs, proteins, and whatever. So the timing is the most important thing. We have in general about 6 meal moments a day, which Matti already told a little bit, between breakfast and dinner. Lunch at the 3 big ones, but you can have pre-race carbs, you can have post-race carbs, you can have a late night snack to have the optimal recovery during the night. So that are 6 moments which are already really important. And those moments shift a bit on, was it a long race? When are we in the hotel? Are we in the bus? We also need to think app-wise, okay, where does that meal moment needs to happen? Because if the post-lunch snack, the riders are still 2 hours in the bus on the transfer, then it has to happen there. Also pre-race carbs, so that is a bit to make it simpler. The app is a guidance for the riders. Okay, this is what you need. It will happen there. This is the timing that it has to happen to have optimal uptakes.
It is really interesting, that bit. That's one thing that I understand. The calorific requirements of certain parkour at a certain wattage, etc. But the timing of it is something there's a lot more research being done into the timing of food and the way and the optimization of absorbing the food at the right time to promote recovery. It's absolutely fascinating. It really, really is. And I guess there's still a lot of frontiers to be broken down in our understanding. But I'm conscious of the time, so I want to ask you just one more question each. And it's the same question, actually, guys, because you both have exceptionally important roles to play within the team. But maybe I'll start with you, Matti. What's the best part of being a chef in a pro cycling team? Obviously, you've been a pro before, so you understand what it's like. So you really understand the kind of the crux of what it means to be a chef in a bike team. But what's the most enjoyable part? What gives you the biggest buzz being a part of this team?
Yeah,
I know your answer, Matti.
Is it working with Kristof?
But you can tell it first. You can tell it first.
Okay.
I think the appreciation from the riders, when they say to me, "Oh, Matti, it was really good," and "Oh, that thing was really out of this world," then that's everything for me, and that's why I do it. To hear it from the riders of the team, it's the best feeling ever. So that's for me the most important thing about it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what
that's
about
actually,
you, Chris? Is that right?
That was exactly exactly what I wanted to say, because the chefs. It's nice in one way. If you have the art of being a good chef, we have a small WhatsApp group for every training camp or for every Grand Tour, whatever. And sometimes you see a picture of riders posting the meal that they are just having. and then you see a lot of hearts popping up on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
With trainers or coaches, that never happens. They never tell to me, "Hey, this was a very nice heart interval training. Thank you, coach. Thank you." That never happens. But with the chefs,
that's true.
So I can imagine that, which is a good thing, to say it that way.
Yeah,
totally.
But yeah, Matt. Sometimes I try to spoil the stuff as well. Like sometimes I make an extra dessert or an extra bar like the riders are eating. So. Or on a rest day, I make an ice cream for everyone. So it's not only the riders who make a lot of effort in the Grand Tour, also the staff. Yeah. Like before, when I was not in the cycling world, I knew it was a lot of work. But the first year, I really opened my eyes. Like, wow! Like from the bureau until the masseur, until the mechanicians, the mechanics. It's really performance. The boss of the team. It's so much work. So sometimes I spoil them as well to make them comfortably as well in the Grand Tour.
Well, it's a family, isn't it? You could compare your role to being like the mother or the father of a family, and you look to them to make the food, to power the team.
Yeah,
it's a very you can look at it in lots of different ways, but I see you as like people look to you like almost like a parent, kind of like providing for the team and you can't underestimate, I don't think, the importance of your job. And
sometimes when the morale is a bit down in a Grand Tour, like for example in the beginning, Jasper Philipsen, first week of the Tour,
last year,
we expected to win a bit earlier. Then Kristof Roto, for example, can go to the chef and say, the morale is a bit low with the troops, do something special tomorrow night. And then the chef does something for the staff, some typically Belgium or something. Which are then French fries.
You can also like on a rest day or the evening before rest day. Most of the time, we can do something extra for the riders. But you can easily make a healthy burger with sweet potato fries, and then obviously maybe they can take a little intake from mayonnaise or whatever. But the mental part then for the riders, the day before rest day is so important. So they eat all week, all the high carbs. They constantly eat actually, and then if they can loosen it up a little bit the night before the rest day, they feel really good about it. And then they send me messages on WhatsApp. Oh, Matti, thank you. And of course we ask at the performance, we can do it, but then that means the world to me. Like when they're happy, then and they can go for the next week or.
It's quite simple, but if they stop eating. 24 to 48 hours later, they are home.
It's finished, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's massively important, and having been a rider and knowing the importance of good chefs, it's fantastic. But things have moved on. That actually, the last thing I want to ask you, actually, maybe Matti, I guess you guys still make rice cakes, don't you? That's one of the most traditional things, I guess. I mean, rice cakes are great. What's the favorite flavor of the team? What is the one that everybody's going to love? But maybe sometimes you save it for the moments of morale. What is your speciality rice cake? Is my final question.
But first thing, the chef is not making the rice cakes.
It's just the Soigneurs
in our team. In our team, the Soigneurs are making them. But I know what they like most, and I think the gingerbread rice cakes is the most loved one. Yeah.
Okay.
But we have much different ones, but that's a thing we as a chef we don't make in the team. So. But the Soigneurs really make good ones, and
that's really.
I also love them a lot. Like when there's some leftovers, I always say, "Hey, give me one," because I really love it, and it goes so easy inside. Like, it eats so easily. Like sometimes it's difficult to eat on the bike or when you're breathing hard, and a rice cake enters really better than a bar sometimes or a high energy carb bar. Like in my opinion, when I still remember when I was a cyclist, so the rice cakes are like a little treat in the race.
Definitely. And finally then, we'll give Kristof the final word. Kristof, what's the best meal that Matti's ever made recently? What's the one you thought, this is perfection? Sometimes, because you sometimes get an opportunity sometimes to sample it. Or, okay, how about this then? If Matti said, right, Kristof, you've been a good guy today, what meal do you want me to make you? And what would you choose, Kristof, for Matti to make? What would you think? you'd want?
Actually, what I love the most is his breakfast buffet, because then they make a few different things, and when it's just the when it's really fresh made, the oatmeals and things like that, and still warm, and then with a bit of fruits on top of it, then I can make some with a bit of cocos splinters, whatever. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Sounds brilliant.
Always a good start of the day.
Yeah, it's my favourite meal was always breakfast when I was doing a big stage race, definitely. But guys, Matti, Kristof, thanks so much for joining us. I think
welcome.
Everybody will have taken a lot away, and we could have talked for a lot longer, but you've given us a real sense of the importance of nutrition on the team and what it takes, and how you combine as a cohesive unit. So, and hopefully I'll be able to sample. I have actually tasted some of your food, Matti, and I can tell the listeners, the viewers, that it's very good. So
thanks.
Yeah. If you
and thanks for the invite.
No, it's not a problem. It's been great to learn a bit from you guys. So see you on the road soon.
See you soon, Matt. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.